Short 40 seconds video will cover our services briefly and then over to Mr. Ojas on introducing Ms. Maria Matai and Nina Virmani. Please ask all your questions and answer Q&A all questions in Q&A section of the webinar. We'll end with a short poll of how you like the webinar and probable future topics that may be interest of you. Thank you for your time. Welcome once again. Thank you.
I'll share this too.
Over to Mr. Ojas.
Hey guys, I'm a huge believer in the fact that if you want career advice, you've got to talk to people who are young professionals.
So, good evening, everyone. So, to start with the introduction about Mathai, so Maria has a vivid experience of 29 years in the field of education, out of which 19 have been focused on counseling in the international education itself. She is a recognized expert on international education and abroad studies, and she is regularly quoted in the mainstream medias like Economic Times and Times of India. Also recognized by the industry media like the PIE, the University World News, etc. Her work in the Canada's education has been phenomenal. She has also received Governor General of Canada's Award for Service to Canada in 2014. She is advisor to two of Canada's top universities, University of Alberta and University of Guelph, and also a counselor by choice. She has counseled over 10,000 students in her career. Her firm, Advisory Services, is a boutique marketing firm started in 2010. In last 12 years, MMA is credited with many firsts in the international education. MMA is the preferred partner for many school counselors and principals in India, and 90% of MMA's counseling business is through referrals. Coming to our next speaker is Nina Virmani. She is the head college advisor at Pathways World School. She handles all the aspects of college applications and placements. She has counseled thousands of students for selection of courses and universities and their application process for countries like US, UK, Canada, Europe, and Australia. She has also guided the students about the exams like PSAT, TOEFL, and IELTS. She is also a member of advisory board of universities like University of Toronto, Canada, St. George, Grenada, and Lincoln University, UK. So that's about our speakers. So before handing over to Maria, I would just like all of you to take a short poll. So I will just start the poll. Yeah. So request all of you to just quickly answer the question that which is the most popular abroad destination for Indian students. I request all of you to participate in this poll. Okay. So thank you, all of you. The next question for the poll that we have is, like, at what level of study will you send your children abroad for the education? Okay, we are seeing good results. Okay. I would like to have this last poll before we just start. So, what is the usual budget for overseas education? Okay, last few seconds. Okay, so I think almost all of you have answered the poll. Thank you for this, and with this, I hand over this to Maria for the session. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Georges, and thank you to Dilza Consultants and Dilshad for organizing this session for your clients. The purpose of today's session is to give you a broad overview of what you need to keep in mind if you're planning your child's education to any foreign destination. So it's very difficult to put the world together in a 1 hour session, but I and my co-speaker, co-panelist Neena Virmani, we're going to try it to the best of our abilities. I will give you a very broad overview of the processes, and Neena is the expert and she'll be talking about the countries. So that's basically the structure of our session today, and we will have a Q&A at the end. So any questions you have, we'll be happy to take those as well. So this is about me. I'm not going to go into details because Ojas has already told you, and that's Neena, my colleague, a very senior colleague. She's been counseling, I think, for more years than I have, and I've been counseling now for 20 years. So between the two of us, we cover about 60 years of experience, if not a bit more. And my company was founded in 2010, and I worked with multiple, uh, like, agencies, governments, universities, colleges, but not to focus too much on who we are and what we do. But I just wanted to give you a very, very broad overview before we go into the subject specific and country specific information as to how much the study abroad industry has grown in the last 20 years. Even if you can't see the exact numbers, this slide is to give you an indicator. The slide on, the bar that you see on the right hand, that's 2020, last year, the year of COVID lockdowns. Almost 1 million students of Indian origin were studying in multiple destinations. If you go back to the other side of the slide, that little bit of blue which you can see, that's in 1960. So in the last 60 years, the number of students who have been going abroad has risen exponentially. But as you will see, the transition happened after 1990 when the economy opened up, and then suddenly a new class was born. Before that, there was the rich and there was everybody else. And international education was just for the rich, not for anybody else. But in the last 20 years, you can see how significantly the number of people choosing to study abroad has increased. And of course, there are multiple reasons for it. But yes, the access to disposable income is one very important reason. And the other very important reason is the fact that there are not enough quality educational institutions options available in India. Both these factors combined have led to this kind of an exponential rise in the industry. Now, few destination countries that we all know. Where are Indian students going? Indian students are actually going across the world. If you see the global image on the left, you'll see that anything which is colored has some amount of Indian students. So the light green means few, and the dark green mean lots and lots of Indian students. And you can see there are very few parts of the globe which are white. So there is some parts of Africa which are white, some parts of Latin America which are white, which means we are going everywhere in the world. And this is, I think, for me, the perfect time to hand over to Nina, because she will run through the most popular destination countries and give you a brief about each country. And again, like I said, not possible to cover each country right now, but we'll give you the most popular destinations as of now. So, Nina, over to you. I am just going to open your slides.
Nina, you're on mute. Can you please unmute yourself?
Trying to do. That's exactly, yeah. So, good evening, everybody. And I think Maria has given a good introduction to what we do. And before I go further, what we do is our passion. And so, if we are going overboard talking about the whole exercise, it's all because we do believe in what we are doing. So, here we go back. And I take on from where Maria has just stopped talking. Yes, if you wish to study abroad, and as we can move further, we will see that the destinations are all over the world. But why do we go abroad? Which rightly said by Maria, that the number of institutions in this country vis-a-vis the number of teaching faculty, vis-a-vis the number of students wanting to study is kind of not really matching to the demand and supply curve. So the students are looking for opportunities to study, to primarily have career advantage. I always put that as the prime reason why anybody would want to go and study overseas. I will not say that it's only all about education, but it's always about wanting to get educated and not having enough opportunities here. So they plan to travel overseas. And all about self-growth, mobility, and moving forward. So what takes us to education overseas? What is it that the students who are going overboard, trying to get back to the country or hanging on, working out there, is primarily because they do believe that the education they will receive will make them better equipped for job opportunities, both overseas and in-house in India. In addition to that, the regular advantages we hear about is communication skills, confidence, making more money. In some cases, it could be the need to become independent. Of course, I will not take away the reasons also, because people may want to start a life in a new country. So these are prime reasons why students are going overseas, but that's not the only reason, but nevertheless. And as we go further, we see that the studies overseas, the popular destinations we see in our, as we can go further, Maria, please. I'm only mentioning the few of them, which is been very, very prevalent in past 2-3 years. United States have always been on the top, along with, I won't take this, can we go just back, and we will see that United States, United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, Singapore, Europe. However, along with United Kingdom, you now see Ireland. Along with Australia, we also see New Zealand. Europe, I would not add with United Kingdom, but Europe has now opened up because we have destinations like France, Spain, Switzerland, Netherlands, and Japan is the new kid on the block as I see these days. I would not, why we have put United States on the top is, I think, is really the legacy with which we are growing up with. But if we were to look at the number of students that have traveled overseas, the countries kind of have a different ranking and placing. That is again based on who is doing the analysis and research. But in India, if anybody travels overseas, from my experience, it's primarily to have better career opportunities and to be able to have an upward mobility in their lifestyle. So the three most and the five most important countries in past 5 years have been United Kingdom, United States, Canada, and I'm not putting it in any chronological order, but it's just that what's coming in our order of speaking. Australia has become popular, New Zealand, and in fact, even countries in the Middle East have come up where we can see. Now, why? A quick comparison when I see, and this chart gives you a good idea. So anybody who's planning education abroad, what is it that you really need to work out, and why would you pick up a university in a particular country and not in the others? You really must understand what it entails to get admission there. Now, what happens is, in most cases, the education starts at undergrad level. I'm taking it from there onwards. And when we look at the countries on the left-hand side, the first column that takes you is what education in India entitles you to get education abroad. What is it that gives you the admission status? 5 years ago, as Maria just quoted, saying that there has been a sudden shift is because of, apart from the fact that the economy opened up, is also the recognition of the Indian education system. There was time when nobody would look at the CBSE or IGCSE or ICSE or any other Indian board. It was always about doing an international exam and or a standardized exam to get admissions overseas. But ever since CBSE has got an international recognition, the opportunities for our students to go abroad has completely opened up, and no country in the world can say CBSE is not acceptable. Of course, they're always been accepted. So, I mean, I'm not going to go over that. But the real point I would like to bring here is that the Indian education system is widely accepted, and there is no question of any institute anywhere in the world not accepting it. But of course, if you want to get into a university which is highly selective, overloaded with application, then you'll have to probably add a little more into your portfolio to pitch towards that application. And this normally happens in certain universities in US. Singapore, of course, because of the size of the country and the size of the institution being small, becomes very, very competitive. They are the ones who will look into the standardized test. Every other country would not give any recognition to any other test besides what you are doing. So if you're looking at admission in UK, Canada, Australia, Netherlands, Ireland, France, and so on and so forth, you need to just carry your board results along with your English language assessments, which is IELTS or TOEFL. And that's again reason you see that it's all there on my chart number 3, the third column, which is, I will repeat, that is mandatory for every Indian student to take. I'll not go into details. I will not question and make any further standing on that, but that is it. Talking about the cost, when you make your planning, the table clearly shows America becomes the most expensive country without taking away the credit from there. But the other top 4 countries are very closely related to it. But each country has its range of universities. There are universities which are less expensive, and there are which are more expensive, and number of students. I mean, in the past so many years, I'm talking of international students. The number again takes you very close. You will notice that probably because of the number of institution a country has, therefore they may have more number of international students. Scholarship, again, is a reason why a lot of students would look at US. And because of the way the countries, I would say the system is, some countries may not be in a position to give you so many scholarships. So before one goes into detailing as to where we want to go and study, as a student and as an advisor, I always say, pick up the country that you would want to go and study. Of course, the other question which is normally asked is, will I be able to work after I graduate? Well, honestly speaking, as of today, if you are worthy of being employed, most of our students get hired up for at least 1 year of work permit. Some countries have opened up that to more than 1 year. That is, of course, becomes country specific and too detailing at this moment. So when I take United States as a country, I'll quickly go through. It has more than 4,000 universities, and that is why it becomes so very popular. Of course, there is no doubt about its education, the uniqueness of its curriculum, where you can change your curriculum midway, you can transfer from one university to another, you can start all over again, you can fast track your education, you can move in any direction. So that is why United States, unlike some other countries where you have to be focused on the program that you start with and continue with it till the end, it does not tighten you up or restricts you from moving from one career to another. Multicultural, yes, and diversity, yes. And the other great thing about the country is that everybody pays for the education. So that primarily becomes a good competition for international students. It's nobody is getting a freebie there. So when you're sitting in a classroom, you will notice that everybody has paid for that seat. So there is a lot of respect and a lot of competition when you're studying there. Cost, definitely, based on the selectivity of the institution. It depends how expensive the universities in USA can be. It would range from $25,000 to almost $100,000 a year. So, and we move forward, I will see that when we touch the next country, which is our United Kingdom. Maria, can we move on, please? Yeah. This, we all know all about the top tier universities here. Who hasn't heard of Cambridge and Oxford? However, we do have much less number of universities here as compared to United States, but that doesn't take away the greatness of the country, because you all know about that there was a time when proudly they would say the sun never sets probably in this countries. I mean, nobody ever believes that the education that you get in United Kingdom and in India till today is one of the most favored destination. Every parent has heard about that, would want to send their wards to United Kingdom, but the only control factor that one finds, which sometimes becomes a question to be answered, is that the students today are looking at an opportunity which is flexible. And the education in the United Kingdom is not really flexible. You have to decide at the very onset of your education what course you want to do. Very few universities would give you a flexibility. So if you're not really sure what you want to do, you may have to take a little time out to decide which course you want to, and you cannot change. Once you've entered the university, you will have to continue. Your CBSE result is excellent, totally acceptable, and to the extent that sometimes the universities are more generous to you as an Indian student than they would be to their own A-level students from country. Why? Definitely you are a much higher fee paying candidate than the local students that are paying for the UK education. The other I would say advantage for an Indian student in UK would be it's a 3-year degree program, vis-a-vis a 4-year degree program in US and any other countries in the world. And as we go further quickly, we would see that Ireland has similar structure as UK, with the exception that it has much less number of universities, high quality job opportunities based on the size of the country, and extremely popular and high quality in terms of medicine, business, theology, music, law. These countries are doing great wonders, and some of our world leaders have come out of these institutes. So even though it is lesser known, and Ireland works out to be a little more less expensive as the others, and as you move on to Ireland, the postgraduate education, you tend to pay much less as compared to the other countries. Then as we go further, we notice that in Europe, all the other countries that you see here, almost similar. The number of institutes are there, the engineering programs, the master's and bachelor's program, research programs, all welcoming Indian students. In some cases, there would be a language issue. Most of these countries, especially Germany, would have limited institutes with English language, but you do come across enough choices should you be looking at any one of them, but all of them would require IELTS as a mandatory requirement if you were to cross the border to any other destination outside our country. Next, we would look into Canada. Of course, Maria is a veteran. I don't want to say much about Canada, but I just hope my figures don't contradict what Maria has to say. There are loads of institutes today. Maria, if I'm making any, you need to correct me, please do so.
And you're absolutely on track.
It's fine, thank you. And yes, we have, the country is far and large in its size, but the number of educational institutes, again, is relatively less than what you see in the United States, but amazingly welcoming to Indian students. And that is primarily the reason in past 2 years, I would say 3 years personally, every student of mine wants to put in an application to Canada. And this year alone, I must have had at least 30 students accepting University of Toronto. Almost 20 students have said we want to go to UBC. These are great, huge institutes which have come up. Education is in par with any other international education, 4 years of education. And amazingly, Canada has opened up and have started giving scholarships to merit students. They want bright students. So if you are a bright student looking for education overseas, yes, you can open up your application to other countries. You can be rest assured that Canada would definitely be throwing scholarship to you. They want students who are bright to come and join them. So I would say Canada is definitely a kind of a mix between other countries that kind of pick up the good of the others in order to encourage students to look into that destination. You're able to work, and they are welcoming towards you becoming a resident of that country as well. So provided you maintain your loyalties in terms of order, discipline, and returning back to society. We go to another great country, which is Australia. Number of institutions may look less here. However, they have amazing educational institutions when it comes to technical education, because that country needs a lot of skilled workers. They value skilled workers, and they have institutions which work parallel to the universities in order to make you employable. Amazing weather condition. You can work right through the years. There are no time of the year when you would either feel hot or cold. Taking away the other environmental hazards, which can happen anywhere in the world, the country is extremely welcoming, far more populated in the corners. I mean, you don't have much population in the central part of Australia, but that does not take away the popularity of the destinations like maybe Melbourne, Sydney, Adelaide. There are about 8-9 of these destinations which are very, very welcoming to international students. They encourage them to come. Again, offer scholarship to the worthy students, merit-based, encourage them to stay on, take up a job if they want, and move on with their life if they would want to. Again, welcoming, but you have to meet the requirement of the country, citizenship, before they can even give you opportunity to stay back. And cost-wise, I would say Australia may not be as expensive as United States, but then, yes, I mean, again, there are institutes in Australia which are fairly expensive, and you have a range of institutions. We move on and we will see that New Zealand has lately become much more visible. And even though there are fewer universities, they do encourage a lot of research students, is what has been my experience vis-a-vis. The undergrad students are going there, but probably the opportunities to be able to be employable, there are a little challenges for our students. However, good economy, growing economy, and definitely country to look forward in the coming years as we go further. We do have sometimes setbacks, but that's okay. Singapore, Hong Kong was very, very popular couple of maybe a year or two before you had these little disturbances. But I would take both the countries together right now because closest to to India, very welcoming, provided you meet their requirement, cost effective, education highly respectable internationally all over the world. Their top universities are as rigorous in their academic structure as anywhere in the world, and they have the capacity to enroll the best students, whoever applies there. And you need to be of a certain standard. Not everybody can get into the top tier universities like you would say in any other parts of the world. However, the cost, and most comforting destination when it came to parents, because the country has some very fine, strict disciplined rules, which gives a lot of confidence to our parents when they send their wards who are as young as 16 or 17 to destination overseas. So I think as a parent, a great destination to look at, but your ward should be, again, scoring at a level where the university will accept, because these are much smaller as compared to the universities in other parts of the world. We go further and we will see that, when we open up the world for the students, we definitely must have a very clear picture on what our vision is, our purpose of education overseas is, what kind of funds we have, and what is our real goal when we think of moving overseas. I'm not going into details of what each country's application process looks like. All processes are more or less the same. Some may have a certain requirement of essays, but at the end of the day, it's all about your grades. How well you fit in and how well you are able to finance yourself when you join the institute. So thank you very much. I'll leave Maria to take it up from here onwards. I've just given a very, very brief kind of a picture of what each country has to offer, but I know there is so much more you can say for each. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nina. That was a very, very comprehensive review. As I mentioned earlier, it's not easy to put the salient factors of what makes a country popular and what makes a country desirable in 2 or 3 points, and you just did a wonderful job of doing that. So the one part which I thought I must kind of cover is that there is this whole destination which are non-English speaking destination countries. So Russia and Ukraine, China, all three were very strong destination for medicine, but in the last 3 years, for obvious reasons, now China, of course, is kind of taken a hit. But there were almost 25,000 students from India studying medicine in China, and Russia, obviously, again for obvious reasons, is going to take a hit in future years. But these were also destinations. And since the session today is from the planning perspective, we don't know, your child might be in fifth right now, so you might be planning for 10 years ahead. So then maybe Russia and China will emerge again as destinations. So just to continue on the theme that Nina said as to which are the popular countries. So this is just give you an idea of which countries were historically popular. So on the right hand, if you see the lower bars, you'll see that USA was clearly the market leader, followed by Australia. Then the yellow bar is Canada, and UK at green was number 3. So traditional structure was very clear: USA first, Australia second, and UK third. Then, to take further the point of what Nina said, that students from India go out with a career focus. Education is good, but employment is key. What happened 10 years ago was that UK changed its rules and made it impossible for non-EU students to stay back. So you can see that the green bar drops significantly, while the blue, red, and the yellow bars go sky high. So that's the change which has happened. But in 2020, again, UK has made changes and has allowed international students to come up. So you can see that the green bar is slightly coming up. So this is to give you a sense that in 10 years, things change a lot. In 10 years, the number of students going from India has doubled. And that doubling has also made sure that there are some countries which have lost out and some countries which have gained. So this is where we are at. I'll skip this one, but this is again a chart which shows you the growth of destination countries. Now you can see that the first bar is actually US, the blue, which is reducing. So US, while has more than 2 lakh students, but every year their growth has been a bit less. So the yellow bar is actually Canada, and you can see it grew a bit, but it's kind of flattish. The green building, the green skyscrapers is UK, and UK has gone skyrocketing after the employment announcement. But having said that, it is still half of what the numbers for US and Canada and even Australia are. So it has a long way to go before it catches up with the other 3 destinations. And these are again numbers just for Indian students. Popular courses are the obvious one. You have the business and management. So whether at the undergrad level, it's BCom and BBA, and at the master's level, it's mostly MBA, or the STEM courses, that's science, technology, engineering, and maths. So again, at the BSc level, it could be BSc, BTech, and at the master's level, MS, MTech, or even engineers, students do their undergrad in science and then go in for an MBA. And then social sciences, medicine, and then there are what we call the industry niche programs. So if you want to go into tourism, you would go into tourism diplomas or degrees. Animation is another area which is completely separate. So there are a lot of industry specific courses that you can choose. So what are the primary requirements for international students? Marks. And the good thing, the absolutely fantastic thing about international education is that while marks is criteria for admission, but you don't have to worry that just because you don't have marks, you're not going to get admission into a decent institution. You still have options in the Western world. Whatever your marks are, there is this whole system called a university pathway. So if you're not able to get into good institutions because you flunked or your marks were not good enough, you can still go into a university pathway program, build up your marks, and then transfer to the university. But marks is pretty much the base of everything. There are some countries, as Nina said, which require a test, and language test is different from academic tests. Costs and finance, highly variable. Again, Nina has given you a very good overview, but minimum that you have to look at is at least 8 lakhs for the tuition and 5 to 8 lakhs for living costs. Now, health insurance is again included in most countries, but it is not included in every country. In some countries, the university is included in their tuition package. In some countries, it is an additional cost, but still done by the universities. In some countries, you are expected to purchase the health insurance and come. So there is a bit of a variation. But broadly, if you're financial planning, you can look at scholarships, you can look at loans, and education loans is usually preferable, or you can look at financial aid from Indian organizations. But mostly, we find about close to 70% of students who are study abroad depend on personal funds rather than other sources of funding. Now, a visa will be required for any citizen, like any Indian citizen, because you would be a non-citizen. And if you've applied for immigration or have got PR status, then you would be eligible for the domestic fees in that country. But otherwise, mostly you would be applying as an international student wherever you go. And odds are that there would be a differential fee structure for you. And of course, you can apply through the local high commission. And in recent years, it's all gone online. Earlier, there was a print option and non-print, online option. But after 2020, everybody's gone online. Work opportunities, you can work while you are studying, which is included in the program, or you can do internships. You can work on campus, off campus after you study. You can have, like most countries like US, Canada, Australia, UK now, and then Ireland, and give you the option of working after you graduate. And if you already worked, it usually helps you with the immigration also. So the timelines, academic timelines, the one thing that you have to remember that at least 1 year before the intake. So if your child is in, if you're looking at joining in 2023, your application starts 1 year before. Your planning starts at least 3 to 5 years before. But the actual process of the application starts 1 year before. So for most countries, September is the main intake. So this timeline is built with the September intake in mind. But obviously, for every, if you're looking at a January intake or an April-May intake, there will be a differential work. But you start 1 year before and you submit all your documents, and you usually start the visa process 5 or 6 months before the intake. Financial timeline is a bit different. Now, first, of course, you have to plan what level of study are you sending your child in? Are you sending at the undergrad level, or are you sending at the master's level? If you're sending at the undergrad level, then effectively you are planning not just for the cost of bachelor's, but also for the cost of master's. Whereas if you're planning to send your child at the master's or the PhD level, then the cost differential is it's not that high. You have to have an estimate. There are two ways that you look at the estimate. One is what is the estimate based on your budget, and what is which country which comes into it. Then depending on that, people like Nina and I, we help you identify the course, the college, and the country. And there are different stages at which you evaluate the decision to send your child to study abroad. You evaluate your budgetary, you might start off with a budget of, say, 50 lakhs, but then if your business does well, or you you get a good job, you might escalate that to 1 crore, or it can go up to, you can start off with a budget of 1.5 crores, but something went wrong and you might want to come back to a budget of 50 to 75 lakh. So these are the stages that you evaluate what are you on track for your child's education? And then, like I said, in the final year is when you submit the application and work on it. So financial planning, what are the things that you have to do? One is, of course, you know that, okay, I have to spend 20 lakhs or 40 lakhs for tuition, another 8-10 lakhs for living costs. The other is that you need to demonstrate that for the visa. So these are two completely different things. You may have enough assets and money to fund all 4 years, but you have to have the documentation for when you applying for the visa. So these are two separate things. One is your actual financial work, the other is having the documentation. So the documentation, there is a variation depending on what your income source is, whether salary, business, agricultural income, anything. And two key, the most important document that every country looks at is your IT returns. So please make sure that 2 or 3 years before your child is ready to apply, you start filing your IT returns and you start demonstrating the maximum income that you can in your IT returns. So these are a few case studies that I'm just going to very quickly over through. One is, if you as if you're dependent, if your source of income is agricultural income, people with agricultural income rarely file their tax returns because it's not a requirement by the government of Canada. But when you're applying for visa, it's something which is very important. The other reason why I focused on agricultural income is because cash inflow is random. If you're salaried professional, your income comes at very specific times. Even if you're a business professional, your clients will be paying you every day, every week, every month. There is a regularity to your income flow. Whereas if you're an agricultural, dependent on agricultural income or any such thing, income, depending on what stage or what kind of a farmer you are, you might be getting money, all your money, just once a year, or maybe 2 or 3 times a year. So there's a lot of these kind of things which you have to keep in mind before you do the planning for study abroad. And this is my formula for study abroad. You have to have a goal. What is the goal of you sending your child abroad? Is it education? Is it research? Is it employment? Is it immigration? Based on your goal and your budget, these two factors decide the 3 C's, which is course, college, and country. And that's what people like us as counselors, this is what we do. We are the experts. We help you identify your goal. We help you look at your budget realistically. And based on these two factors, we help you decide what course, what college, and what country your child will be most successful in. So this is, I think, important for people like Nina and me. We want to send your kids to places where they will be successful in. Anybody can send your child to any institution. But the key is how smooth the process is, how smooth the transition is from India to the destination country, and how happy and how smooth the experience will be for the next 2, 3, 4 years, however many years. So this is what our goal is. This is what we want to do. Now I'm just going to stop over here and give a, I'm sorry, I think something hung, the screen hung and it stopped.
No, it's fine. It's just fine, Maria. I think we are okay.
Yeah, so this is just a bit of a introduction of what we do. We give all kind of support, and this is what we do. And I'm going to leave it right now and open it up for Q&A.
And I'll just add one more line to what you said, Maria. Very graciously, Maria said that anybody can send your ward to any country, any institution. I would just add another line here. Anybody can fill an application to any country and any institution, but getting into that institution is a different story altogether. So that is just a little underline. But yes, any institution and the number of rejections and be able to sustain that is the other part of the story. We try and reduce the discomfort in the very beginning, where I think both of us are very clear about telling our clients that these are the institutions which are going to be more likely your accepted and your comfort area, and these would be the institution where you're likely to face difficulties. So that's it. So thank you very much, and let's go and let's take the question and answer. I
Yeah.
saw, yeah, there is, yeah, so you can, would you see the chat? There was one question
So
in the chat, I think, about
that's
the
sure.
3-year and the 4-year one. I think you can take that if you want. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let me just read out the questions. There are a few universities in UK which have 1-year master's program. How does this compare with other 2-year master's program in other countries? Nina, do you want to take that?
I can. And the 1-year master's program and the 2 years, I think I would say each program is different. Not taking away the credit of 1 year against giving more credit to 2 years. It all depends what the curriculum is and what, as a student, you're looking at. If you're looking at a program which is highly intense academic, then maybe 1 year would be your way of going forward. But if you're looking at a 2 years program, which would probably incorporate some co-ops or some kind of work experience, then the 2-year program becomes more, I would say, attractive to that student, which also gives the student a work experience, which becomes another added quality, an asset when he looks out for opportunity outside. I think that's the way I would look at it. Maria, any question from your side here? Would you
Yeah,
able to add something here? Yeah.
yeah, no, I would just say that when you're comparing different countries, it is very tricky. Now, if you are going to be in UK itself, the 1-year degree is absolutely fine. There is no issue because that is how the system is. There is really no issue and there is no comparison. Is the 1 year equivalent to 2 years? In many ways, it cannot be, because obviously, if you're spending 1 year on something and you're spending 2 years on something, there is going to be some difference. However, from the perspective of further studies, again, a 1-year degree from UK is usually accepted in most institutions, including the premier institutions. In terms of employment, again, most UK degrees have universal acceptance. So whether that is a 1 year or a 2 year does not really make a difference. I think it comes back to, like I said, what your priorities are, where you want to go, and is the course that you're doing, the 1-year course in UK, a better fit for your child than the 2-year course that you are getting here or you are getting in any other country. So I think that is where it kind of comes down to. Otherwise, it's very difficult to compare. It's apples and oranges. Both
Can't
have their
compare.
own, yeah, both have their, an apple is also sweet, an orange is also sweet, but both are very different and very distinct.
But very often people start comparing the cost and saying that it becomes more expensive to do 2 years vis-a-vis 1 year. But again, it's the same thing. It depends on the country of origin, and time factor sometimes is very important for most students. There's a question which says, is Germany still favorable for master's degree in automobile mechanical? My question be more favorable than what?
Yeah. So,
I mean,
yeah, it's a bit, uh, Germany is an acknowledged destination for car
automobiles.
manufacturing. Yeah, it is like, again, but it's more from the manufacturing and the technology perspective. Actually, if you look at automotive design, you will find that it goes somewhere else. So yes, Germany is a good destination for automotive engineering. Like Nina said, Japan is another destination. And then, of
Just a
course, the
minute.
other Western English-speaking countries
I'm
are
just.
always there. So it is for you to define if somebody wants to work in BMW, or if you want to work in certain companies, Mercedes Benz, if you want to design a Mercedes Benz car, then yes, Germany is the place. If you want to work in certain places, then yes, Germany is the place to go to. However, I actually don't know how to answer, is this preferable over anything else? Uh, Again, it works for some courses, but not for all. So it works for some traditional courses, very specific technologies, very specific companies. Yes, it's a very good destination and has got some of the best design manufacturing facilities for automotive. But again, not like, in terms of numbers, you have to look whether it is the right fit for you. And in Germany, some of the best programs are in German. So the English programs are good. I'm not saying they're bad. They're excellent. But having a knowledge of German will be always useful. So that's a factor to keep in mind. I actually am not seeing any of the questions. So Nina, you seem to be seeing. Yeah, okay, got that. So are there good universities in Australia for international relation courses the way they have it in USA? And what would be the appropriate cost? You're on mute, Nina, but do you want to start with this?
I could. Yes and no, but again, when you say in Australia as in USA, well, all part of the world would have universities which would have international relation courses which are equally good. Again, approximate cost of Australian education is definitely lower than the cost in USA. And that is again the value of dollar and the other fees which is associated with it. I would not take away and say that, I mean, unless you're trying to add value to the top tier universities and where the value of education is added because a university is rated at a level. When I look at a course, my view is, when I look at the course, I look at the curriculum, and I would then say that yes, it's as good as any other course, and what you make out of it is even better. So I would not take away a credit from one university and give it to the other. So it's there, and all of them are well recognized and reputed and equally accepted in the international arena. I mean, that's the way I would look at it. There are few foreign university reps that come to India for registration. Is that the right way to approach, to consider? I don't know, what is this?
Okay, so I'm also not very clear on what you are asking, but if you're asking that can we interact with the university reps, and are these the official representatives of the university? So there are two types of representatives
Yes.
that universities have. One is somebody who is on the university staff roles and usually has a designation like a in-country representative or in-country manager or South Asia representative or something like that. Now that would be somebody who the university has hired and who the university has placed in India to give the kind of answers. That person will have the university email ID and will have, like, even if they don't have a business card, but will definitely have a university domain email ID. So in those cases, yes, so like, these are people on the rolls, so there is no issues. You can definitely interact with them and get the right information. They're mandated to give you the official communication from the university. Then the other kind of a rep that the university have is agencies. The universities have partnerships with recruitment agents, and that's a very different relationship because there the university gives a commission to the agent to forward an application. So that would be a slightly different relationship because there, when you go into an agency office, it is an official agent of the university, and usually you can go on the university website and check whether these are registered agents or not. and the agent is again empowered to give you the information. However, the agency is usually, because it's a commercial transaction, it's a commission based relationship, the agencies, they might be representing, 10 universities, 20 universities, 100 universities in other countries. So they may or may not have the kind of detailed information that you may require. So it like I said, I'm not sure which representative of the university you are going for. So, based on whatever you want. And of course, if you want further insights, you can always connect with us.
Yeah.
We would be happy to give you a more detailed overview.
Yeah, but there are few universities which also send their admission officers to India, and who would also be a good approach to know who they are. But where you apply and through how you apply, that's a different story altogether. Getting information, I think you should be, as a concerned and an interested party, open yourself and hear everything what everybody has to take, then decide what you really want out of that person. So to pursue medicine, sending them to overseas for bachelor's or master's, which is preferable and where? Okay. I'll go quickly here, and you can take over. Well, to pursue medicine, again, let me tell you the top countries, whether it is America or Canada or UK, I'm not taking away credit from the other parts of the world. You have to see at what level the admissions are going to take place and what is the admission requirement. Well, they are very expensive programs. If you're looking at the countries which are on the top or at the helm of it, they're as difficult to get in and sometimes more difficult than India. At the same time, some countries do not allow international students admission into their undergrad program. Is primarily, and the percentage that they would agree would be maybe something like 1 or 2%. So you have to think about it. And again, where I think at this point it is not really, I wouldn't want to make that answer because it all depends on the student and where we can best fit him and how hard he can work and what kind of cost he can take. And Maria, you can take it up from here.
Yeah. So, like as Nina said, a lot of the Western countries have a very different system for medicine, where it is not a first degree, it's usually a second degree. Like in India, you can do your medicine after grade 12. In the Western countries, you have to do your undergrad before you can even apply for the test for the medicine. Then there are other destinations which are there, which have been traditionally there, but which in the current global environment are not viable solutions for medicine. So I think this is a question that has an evolving answer. 6 months, 6 months before, I would have given you a very different answer. Today, there is there's no clarity in some of the destinations that traditionally students go to, and I think this is a question which we can take in person. Based on your based on your particular situation as to what would be the best. So I would advise you to reach out to us and we would be happy to schedule a more detailed interaction on this. I think that was the last question. So
post UG medicine in India, which country would be preferable to do PG, cost effective?
I think
cost and work option.
Again, it's a variation of the same question. So I think we'll just consider this answered as well.
Yeah.
So Ojas, I think that is the end of the session. And
thank you very much. Yeah, so I think all of the questions are now answered. I would like to thank you, Maria and Nina, both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I would just like to just a minute. I'd like to wind up the session with a short summary of my key takeaways. So we really liked the overall scope that you covered for the overseas education in such a short time. though we understand that it is not such a short topic to be covered in such less span, but it was covered in a very nice way. And I like the overview of the application process, what are the costs involved, where we need to have, where we can get the scholarships. All those things were very neatly covered. And the best thing I like was like anyone can apply for any country, any course. This was the best thing. I think we should, every one of us should definitely plan for their child's higher education, or maybe if possible, the graduate level education also in the foreign countries, and take the most out of it. So with it, I'd like to thank all of you, the attendees also, for taking your precious time and attending this session. And thank you once again, Maria and Nina, for your time.
Thank you.
So the only thing that I would like to add over here is I will leave our contact details with Ojas. And Ojas, if I can request you to share that with those who have attended, so that they have the information in case they need to get in touch.
Absolutely, we'll do it.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. And
Bye-bye.
thanks to Dilzar and Dilzar Consultants for organizing this, as well as to Dilshad. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
All the best to the students.